Good afternoon to you. Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion. Supposed to be the off-season edition, and while we don't have any hurricanes to be talking about, the tropics are of interest. So we're going to have these daily discussions for a few days here. A good way to warm up for the season ahead, I guess. As you may know by now, we do have Invest Area 90L off the southeast coast here. And what exactly does that mean? What is a 90L? For those of you that may not remember or have never heard about it, it's essentially a way for the National Hurricane Center to designate a suspect area of weather, in this case, this broad area of showers and thunderstorms with a nice comma shape to it, as more than just calling it a blob of clouds. It's sort of the first step of initializing computer models, allocating resources, whether that be the hurricane hunters to fly a low-level investigative mission into the system, or computer model runs, as I mentioned, and things of that nature. That's sort of the first step in the process. So they have this naming convention where they use the numbers 90 through 99 and the letter L for Atlantic to designate these areas of suspect weather. And lo and behold, here we go. We do have this area here, Invest 90L, and you can see a couple of things that are interesting about it. First, yeah, there's definitely a blow-up of convection, but it's also very much comma-shaped, and that tells us that it is more subtropical or non-tropical in nature. If we had a tropical wave that came across from Africa that developed in sort of that classic curled-up pattern like this, where you have sort of that shrimp look to it, this is a little bit backwards. This is more of a atmosphere working down to the ocean kind of situation than a true heat-filled tropical wave that comes off of Africa that takes advantage of the warm water below it. In this case, the atmosphere has sort of given birth to this system, and so it's a subtropical cyclone. And all of this is very confusing, and at the end of the day, what does it mean? Well, it means that it's not very concentrated. You can clearly see, again, it's kind of loosely organized here, almost has this front associated with it. And so it looks like a storm system that you'd see maybe coming across the continent. And sometimes these turn up the coast and you get these nor'easters. That's what this looks like. It's not your classic looking tropical system. So that's what we have. The National Hurricane Center, the latest information from this morning indicating a 60% chance of development over the next few days. And if we click on the, let's see if they'll show me the cone. That's what I'm looking for here. There it is, the 5-day tropical weather outlook graphic. Let's zoom in on the image. That'll help things quite a bit here. And you can see that the area of expected track somewhere inside of this orange shading, the medium potential area, 40 to 60%. So folks in the Carolinas want to watch this. Again, not much of a major concern, kind of a wind and rain event, rough seas at the beach, of course, high surf, rip currents, increased possibility. But that's about it. A novelty, something interesting, an out-of-season storm, but not much more than that. Water temperatures, definitely warm enough here and there, if you will. We like to see 26 degrees Celsius or higher, and we definitely have that through the Gulf Stream here, right in the middle, off the Carolina coast. But that is surrounded by 25 degrees Celsius. You say, well, Mark, that's not that big of a difference. And that's true. But because we're not looking at the upper end of the scale here, 26, 27, 28, 29 degrees Celsius, if you will, or the low to mid 80s, this won't have a chance to tap warm water because it's not there. In fact, if this were to come up and get close to the coast, something like that, that's just a suggestion. This isn't a forecast. But if it comes in near this shelf water here, that's quite a bit colder, in the low 70s, and so the energy source for this system is not vast by any stretch of the imagination. What is the track forecast thinking? Well, this is the different computer models and run on this system. Again, that's what I was talking about. Your AL90 for Atlantic, Invest Area 90, different models showing generally a threat, if you want to call it that, of impact to the Carolina coastline over the next few days. Kind of comes up and then gets blocked by high pressure sitting up here, and it moves inland perhaps over the Carolinas. It could meander for a little bit. The intensity from it, not much at all to speak of. Kind of trying to draw an average in here, maybe something like this. Maybe a tropical storm intensity associated with it. Now the subtropical versus tropical, if it becomes more symmetrical and the wind field is more concentrated around the center with a warm core, and the hurricane hunters will be able to tell that when they fly starting tomorrow most likely, then it would become a true tropical storm. Otherwise, if it retains that look, that comma shape with it, then it would be more of a subtropical storm. Either way, if it does reach 40 miles per hour or higher, it would be named Anna. Whether or not it's a subtropical or a tropical, it doesn't matter. It's still going to bring wind and rain and rough seas to a limited area of the southeast United States. In fact, if we look at the global forecast system, the GFS, the latest run, even this valid this evening around 8 p.m. Eastern Time, you can see here's the low pressure center, not very well organized. It doesn't look like a circle with banding features associated with it. Even, it's not showing up that way in the model. Boy, when you see that show up in the model, you know it's a very strong system. Also, you don't see very many of these isobars, these lines of equal pressure in here. And the low center is analyzed at around 1,011 millibars. I mean, there's the 1020 millibar isobar right there. So the pressure field overall not very deep, to say the least. So we're not talking about a steep pressure gradient. In other words, if the pressure was lower, like a hurricane would have, maybe in the 960s or 950s, then you would have the potential for a lot of wind. But in this case, because the GFS shows us the wind barbs, maybe 10 to 20 miles an hour out of the east, northeast at maybe 30. So the open water here, kind of choppy, a little windy, right along the coast, 15 to 20, maybe 25. No big deal. As we move through time, you see what the model does, gradually bringing this system towards the Carolina coastline, slowly intensifying it, if you want to call it that, into the 1,008, 1,007 millibar, 1,009, something like that. But again, the bottom line, not much precipitation with it, a unhealthy look overall. This water west of the Gulf Stream only in the mid to upper 70s at best, and so it's going to have very limited fuel to work with. And finally, the GFS, this is going through Friday on into the next 48 hours here, if it'll advance for me, maybe making landfall along the Carolina coastline near Georgetown. It doesn't really matter. It will have an onshore flow that'll again increase those rip currents and rough surf conditions along the Carolina coastline, scattered rain showers, breezy conditions, and that is it. No big concern, just a novelty, water cooler topic item, and that's it. And you don't want to ignore it. So, if it's raining hard because of it, certainly slow down and, pay attention, but, we're not going to hype this up even above more than what it is. There's no reason to. Believe me, if there's a big hurricane coming, we're going to make sure you know about it, as will everybody else on the internet, I'm sure. But honestly, got to make sure that we keep everything in perspective. Weak subtropical, maybe borderline tropical in nature, not much to be concerned with, but certainly something to watch and make sure you're aware of it. All right? Well, that's it from me for today. I'll keep an eye on things, see what's happening, post regular blog updates on hurricanetrack.com, and these video blogs will be posted to our app, Hurricane Impact, and we'll see what happens. And, if it gets to be interesting enough, since it's right in my backyard, my office is in Wilmington, North Carolina, I might just get out and about and see what's happening, stream a little video, give you some wind speed indications, things like that. Just a little warm-up to the season to come. We'll see. Have a good rest of your Wednesday. Again, thanks for tuning in. I'm Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com, and I'll have another video discussion for you tomorrow.